Hi, I'm going to read a little something from the book Happiness Now. And this is part of the lessons that I want to teach from the Health, Wealth, and Happiness Clinic. I'm the founder of that clinic, and this is the happiness section I'm going to be talking about, starting with having you write down in your journals today, what do you love about yourself? And I'm going to read this out loud, but I'd like to ask you to take out your journals and try your best to write notes about what you love about yourself while you tune an ear to this little information I have. It says, no one is harder on you than you are. You've learned to judge, criticize, and condemn yourself. No matter how hard anyone else has ever judged you, you judge yourself the hardest. In fact, you save your most severe standards, judgments, criticism, and punishments for yourself. This constant self-judgment is something you have learned. I'm even judging me for not reading these words perfectly clear. It's a conditioning we want to break. Back to reading. Now I'm beating myself up for getting distracted. See how our monkey chatter can work? At least mine. This constant self-judgment is something we've learned. It is not natural. Once we were completely accepting of ourselves and we were free, but now no one is harder on ourselves than we are. While our unconditioned self continues to be free, our ego continues to judge and imprison itself. Our ego self accepts nothing and judges everything, including happiness. Judgment is more than a habit. It is a way of life. Your judgments stain the windows of your perception. They filter everything you see so that in truth you see nothing as it really is. Your own beauty, wholeness, and light within, you see only that you could do better and could be more. Your conditioned self or ego judges, pushes, drives, and punishes you so incessantly to compensate for its fear that deep down you're inadequate and incomplete. In other words, your happiness is somewhere else. This is not the truth, but you've learned to believe that it might be. Your ego is an addict. Indeed, someone who is experiencing alcoholism, for instance, looks very different to someone who has just survived a heart attack. And someone with agoraphobia looks very different to someone who feels totally stressed, and so on. Someone who is experiencing depression looks very different from someone who has just survived a heart attack. I mentioned that. So no disease happens by itself. Deep down, these conditions all look different, but they're conditions with different names have the same illness. Alcoholism doesn't happen by itself. Alcoholism is an effect, not a cause. It is a symptom, not an illness. Alcoholism is not the primary dis-ease. The primary dis-ease is the excessive self-judgment and constant self-criticism that pressures someone into taking a drink in the first place. The same is true in one degree or another of depression, stress, burnout, and every other dis-ease ever named. By the medical and psychology profession, self-judgment is the dis-ease. It has been my experience that behind every pain, illness, and unhappiness there is, hard at work, a fearful, relentless, self-judgment, a distinct lack of love and acceptance that perpetuates and complicates symptom after symptom. We do not get ill when we are wholly joyous because our joy is free of fear and judgment. Illness does ensue, however, when we judge, berate, and criticize ourselves too harshly, or life, or both. In one way or another, we are all the same in that. We all suffer from a highly critical condition of CSJ, constant self-judgment. Your unconditioned self, being completely whole, has no need to judge. What is there to judge if all you know is wholeness and love? You know for yourself that when you feel completely happy and whole, you do not think to judge. Wholeness is joyful, not judgmental. Thus, self-judgment is not natural to your unconditioned self. It is learned. It belongs to the conditioned self, the ego, that suspects everything good is outside, ego, that fears something is missing, and that doubts, am I whole? You have learned to judge, criticize, and condemn yourself. No matter how hard anyone else has ever judged you, you judge yourself the hardest. In fact, you save your most severe standards, judgments, criticism, and punishments for yourself. This constant self-judgment is something you have learned. It is not natural to you. Once you were completely accepting of yourself and you are free, but now no one is harder on you than you are. So let's keep working in our journals, writing lists about what we already love about ourselves. And we'll have a discussion.